RTD Live Talk. We're live for a little live stream. Excited to be back for another episode of Detroit's late night YouTube talk show, number one at that. So hope everyone's doing well. Want to give it a second, make sure everything is flowing smoothly, and then we will get into it. Came across an interesting article, or a couple articles rather, that are some indicators of what happened last month. And I'm assuming that we'll probably experience some of the same things again this current month and moving forward. So before I move forward, let me check in, make sure everything is flowing smoothly. As always, let me know via chat if we have any first-time viewers. Would love to welcome you to the live stream this evening. And as well as there's anything else out there worthy of talking about during this live stream, feel free to let us know, and we can touch on that this evening. So other than that, hope everyone is doing well. And as always, just going to thumb through this article here, share some of my thoughts on it, get your take on it, and then we'll move on to whatever else is happening out there in this crazy upside down world we're living in now. So let me check in via chat. We got I think it's Fed, if I'm not mistaken. It says if you had gold, silver, etc., but wanted to live in Mexico to escape the U.S. cost of living, etc., how could you do that and keep your assets safe, in your opinion? Okay, so let me digest that for a second. I'll come back to that question there. Definitely seems like a good one. We got Spirit King, we got El Monte, we got John says greeting from Malibu, California. Excalibur, Miss D, we got Daniel. And so as I'm refreshing my pages, it keeps so hopefully everything is flowing smoothly. Let me know via chat if everything sounds good. And so right away, want to just jump in into some of the what is it called? I would say just some of the figures that's adding up. Not only did we set all-time highs, but yet also as a result of that, a lot of people took advantage of the opportunity to basically skip some payments. And it so happens to be in the same areas that over the last several years I've been talking about were already extremely inflated in all-time highs themselves, due to the artificial nature of our economy offering any and everybody with a pulse some credit. And so it looks like as job security or insecurity now has proven to be the case for 30 plus million. I forgot what the count is. We'll probably get a new tally this upcoming by tomorrow. But it looks like a lot of people, over half of the people who were labeled as underemployed or unemployed, took advantage of the opportunity of not paying on some bills. And the dangers behind that. It's one of those things where I assume that majority of the people who chose to skip were in positions where they probably could have, or probably, if it was dire need, they would have made those payments. But I'd imagine a lot of people decided to take advantage of the circumstance and to miss a payment in hopes of possibly being forgiven or something like that. But I'm curious to find out your thoughts on that. So let me get right into, welcome a couple more people here. We got Death by Debt. We got Benjamin Hill. And so says Harlem Real Estate Stories. Appreciate that. Says governments want to take your guns, assets, and leave you with rocks, debasement, kind of like banking at the end of the day. And so for those that have not had a chance yet, check out the interview I posted earlier with Mickey Fulp. It was definitely a great interview, apart from some of the internet issues. But I want to dive right into this article here. Let me add this here. So Wall Street Journal initially came out with an article to this very title of millions of Americans skipped credit card and payments and whatnot. And so this UK article, or Daily Mail, actually extracted that information and gave us some details inside of it. And when I saw that number, 18 million Americans skipped credit card or car loan payments in April, as this current health scare continues to wreak havoc on the economy. The thought was like, man, like those 18 million people were probably in over their heads in the first place. A good, I wish they could give us some more details as to how it was actually broken down. But my best guess and worst case scenario guess would be that majority of those people that probably skipped a payment were probably using that card as a means of payment, or beyond necessity, they were actually living off those cards more than likely, and decided to take a month off or two to just kind of get their heads above water. And then also on the car side, a lot of people, due to the fact that they were financing anybody with a pulse these days, were probably riding in a car that they could not afford initially, and so decided also to take some time off from payments. But the payments don't go away. That's the biggest thing. And I think a lot of people, for some reason, are probably banking on or hoping on continually being stimulated or eventually getting that universal basic allowance to where they can catch up with those payments or whatever they have in mind. And so, give an idea here. It says April data shows 15 million Americans deferred credit card payments. Another 3 million entered deferred payments for car loans. Lenders have extended temporary hardship programs for borrowers. I bet they have. And so it says the dramatic rise in skipped payments comes as the lockdowns have put more than 35 million Americans out of work in the space of 6 weeks. And here's one of the biggest things I think people may not have considered is the fact that if they are unemployed, the likelihood of them being able to pick back up where they left off at is probably not likely. And so by skipping a month will put them further in a hole, I would imagine. And so I think when it boils down to taking care of your necessities for sustaining your life or all the luxuries that you've probably built around you, there's going to be some issues. But as always, every debt is somebody else's asset. And so all those packaged up, I think they even start packing up the car loans and selling them off in people's financial portfolios, as well as all the credit card has been packaged up. So that's just on the car front and on the the credit card front. But here's an interesting thing here. Let me click on that if I can. So here's an interesting graph here that shows the severity of how bad things really are. And so this is this graph here. Let me see if I can zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better because I can't click it. Here we go here. So if you guys can see this, I am looking. Let me see here. I think I'm looking at the wrong. Yeah, so I'm looking at the wrong screen here. So forgive me. Looking at the wrong screen as I'm talking. I'll get rid of this one. And I think I can click on this one or open this up. And then I'll move on to the next article, and then we'll get involved in a little back and forth. So here's a visual aid I was trying to show here. It says net percentage of domestic banks tightening standards on consumer loans. So not only are people deciding not to pay, but yet we have lenders themselves tighten up on the ability for people to finance new toys and luxuries and things of the nature. So clearly, one indicator is that fact it's a gray bar here, indicating recession. Next bar here, we know how bad that great financial crisis was. But then here, same type of atmosphere, but yet we don't have a gray bar yet. But I'd imagine we all know what's really going on. So the gray bar is obviously there, but we won't hear about it till next year sometime. So with that being the case, let me check in via chat real quick and get some thoughts. And so I'm curious to find out your thoughts. Are you surprised at all based upon the information that was provided that as of just April, 18 million people decided to take a month off from making those payments on an overly inflated car borrowing market, as well as credit card loans. And so those are at all-time highs well prior to this current situation. And so it definitely doesn't play in their favor trying to get caught up because in my personal opinion, a good portion of those people will end up not paying those things back at all. Therefore, tipping the dominoes further down the line to where there's going to be a lot of pain at the end of all that. So Nathaniel says Americans need to learn how to live within their means. Yeah, that's been a big issue that this country has probably faced ever since we've been steered towards becoming a consumer-based nation. With that is the growth. That is how we've been able to grow based upon borrowing to spend. And more importantly, it's come from spending off things that people really shouldn't be trying to buy in the first place. And it's that concept of trying to keep up with the Joneses, whoever the hell the Joneses are. And so Nathaniel says second quarter reports will be a bloodbath. Very true. I think May will be bad. So, and here's the bad part about all this. Jerome Powell and Steve Mnuchin talking about we're expecting a second better half of this year. And, the third quarter, fourth quarter should be a lot better. I'm not sure how that's going to really take place, but yet we all know that that's a lie. Aaron says, when is the debt jubilee going to pop off? I would assume people probably skipped some payments in hopes of having a chance to be caught up in the debt jubilee. But I believe that what we might witness first, according to the Democratic side of things, is that they'll probably forgive student loans before they forgive credit card and credit card and and car loans. So I wouldn't be waiting on a debt jubilee when it comes to those extras. Whereas we've witnessed, AOC and all the other Bernie Sanders talking about, student loans and college universities profiting off of inferior education, is they robbing the people, robbing the kids. So it's going to be a big push for the politicians to eliminate student debt first. So if you're sitting on a large amount of student debt, you might see some form of relief or cancellation coming soon, probably before the end of this year, would be my guess. It says, Tony Black says, you are currently witnessing the debt jubilee. I'm not sure if it's a jubilee outright in the way that people are anticipating it, like probably getting a letter or getting some type of announcement officially announcing that you've been forgiven. I think people are taking it upon themselves to push the issue in hopes of being forgiven. And so, in that regards to a jubilee. Spirit King says, if people only buy what they really need or what they can afford, then the GDP stops growing, inflation takes over, and it's game over. Yeah. So with that very same statement there, if people knew how the system operated and if they knew that growth, or what we call growth, or what has been called growth, depends upon them consuming in an environment where they are financially uneducated and putting more funds into things that, depreciate over time, therefore entrapping themselves in a very system that's based upon using them to go out and spend and to get into debt for the banks to profit off of them. I think if people knew how the system operated and it wasn't in their favor, I don't think they would go about living off credit cards and buying too much of things they can't really afford. But yet, that's the day and time we're in. So I'm not too surprised at all. Philman question says, I was thinking about autonomous cars. Once level 5 autonomous cars, do you think will driving cars become illegal? Philman, great question. I don't think driving cars will become illegal, but I do believe that as a whole push to go green and all the carbon footprint that everyone seems to want to erase, and the push for global warming and global cooling and all those global talk, they'll make it they'll tax the mess out of you that would probably deter you from wanting to continue to drive an older car that's based upon petroleum. So that's how they usually force us out of it. And so very few will be able to continue to sustain their lifestyles while also paying all the excess of tax and fees on driving a gas car, to where they'll probably push you towards driving those autonomous cars. And you'll be heavily incentivized with all types of rebates and all that types of stuff like that. So Death by Debt says, I use 0% interest for 15 months though. And so that's once again one of the things where this doesn't apply to everybody. It more so applies to the people who have made their lifestyle upon using credit. And so with high unemployment numbers, and those numbers probably will relatively remain constant moving forward, what I'm basically pointing out is that, if you live off credit, more than likely you'll be consumed by credit. Therefore, that just it takes away from the privilege and the opportunity for you to live comfortably in the moment, because you've already reached into your future to extract what you thought was going to be future earning power and bringing it forward. Whereas right now, given the circumstances a lot of people are in, it's a lot of uncertainty in that future earning power, especially if you're unemployed or don't have any source of income. So it just plays into the fact that a lot of people financially uninformed on how the system operates, we're witnessing primary examples of what's going on. But then again, I don't want to stop there, because I want to keep it moving, because not only have the people with credit card debts, it's also in the mortgage area. So here's an interesting article here that I think people can probably, see how any type of debt whatsoever is becoming a problem for people to sustain right now. So this is as of yesterday. It says over 4 million Americans skip mortgage payments as this current health scare hammers finances. And so you factor in a good portion of the working class and this is, these numbers have not been broken down to, be accurate science or accurate in nature, but yet we have some key numbers that we can work with, and then you can lump whoever else you want into that. Because I'd imagine, everybody who's watching perhaps knows somebody or might actually taken advantage of the opportunity to postpone some payments. But yet, when you have 4 million Americans plus 18 million Americans, I would assume those same people, the 4 million here, are probably factored in with the car as well as the credit cards. And that's just 3 areas. But yet, those are the 3 areas that we've been talking about for some time now that have reached all-time highs and users taking advantage of extremely cheap borrowing costs. And so we've entered an environment where we're going to have some hiccups, because not only were the bubbles so big, but these are the type of things that have already pricked the bubble to where they're deflating now. And so it hasn't popped yet, but it's inflated to the point where we're going to always be hearing about mortgage issues, credit card issues, car loan issues, student loan issues. There's millions of people out here that are tightly pinched right now because of us living in a near zero borrowing environment forever, soon to go negative. But just share some information here, and then we'll talk a little bit more. It says more than 4.1 million American homeowners are temporarily skipping their mortgage payments as the pandemic batters Americans. It says a weekly survey from the Mortgage Bankers Association released on Monday found that 8.16% of total loans are now in forbearance. And so another thing I saw was that, let me see here. Here's something here. It says the potential exception to the trend, however, are mortgages backed by Ginnie Mae and the Federal Housing Administration and the Veteran Affairs loans. More than 11% of Ginnie Mae backed loans are currently in forbearance. So we have the conventional mortgage and all the other FHA and the veteran loans. So that's a good enough portion to cause concern. But the question I want to throw out there once again, are you surprised? Are you surprised? But anyway, so that's just touching on some of the things that we're going to continue to hear more about from this time moving forward, just because these problems are not going to go away. They will not decrease. They will increase, in my personal opinion. Feel free to let me know if I'm wrong. But once again, I think a lot of this factors on the the crumbling of the global economy and the deterioration of our economy here, as the central banks and the government continue to try to tell us that we can get back to some type of recovery or whatever in the days ahead. And they're pushing the dates back further. I've heard someone say late 2020, for sure 2021. But think about between now and the end of this year, or the now and the end of next year, or whatever. And these people, millions upon millions of people that base their lifestyle upon the idea that they will be able to get a check next week or 2 weeks from now. That's going to be a lot of question as to whether or not that will be able to happen again. And on top of that, the payments just continue to pile up. So it's not like the payments go away. So the problems will only compound. So like it's going to be a compounding problem that once again, the government and the Federal Reserve will have to get involved to start backing up the issuers, the entities that have issued all this credit, which happens to be the too big to fail banks. So there's an article came out today about how what is it? It says something about now we have JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs mentioning that more QE is needed. Let me find this article here, because it looks like the trillions that's been put out there so far will not suffice. Therefore, more is needed. And so, where's all our QE going? More. Let's see. More QE. Look this up. More QE needed. And let me see. I saw the article. And I'm like, wow. Are you surprised? Okay. Okay. Here we go. Here's the article here that lets you know what they're calling for. So this is. Let me see here. Well, let me show it. Give me a second. Let me find this. I already reached your article limit. Let me go back here and grab a different article. Same subject matter, different source. So, so here's an issue here, and this is about JP Morgan needing more. Let me see here. I'll grab this. So it says JP Morgan and Goldman says more QE needed to cap bond yield. So this is just when it comes to all the junk debt out there, but yet QE is going to be needed continuously. There will be no way of taking this stuff away, and we're caught up in the midst of all that. So anyway, enough of me ranting. Let's get into some live talks. Let's talk. Give me a call. Let me know what's in your mind. Curious to find out what your thoughts are about the situation. Are you surprised? Can they paper over this in the meantime to keep the institutions afloat, or will everybody go underneath with it, or what? So curious to find out what you think. And then let me go back to that initial question from Fed or from F-Ed. It says, if you had gold, silver, etc., but wanted to live in Mexico to escape the U.S. cost of living, how could you do that and keep your assets safe, in your opinion? Okay, so let me touch on that question, and let me actually put this on the screen. And so if anybody else out there have some thoughts, feel free to chime in the chat, and we can answer this together, because once again, more heads put together are better than one. And so to escape the U.S. cost of living, it says, how could you do that and keep your assets safe, in your opinion? Okay, so you want to take advantage of the cheaper living costs in Mexico, but yet you want to also, I assume, have some of the metals in your possession, or keep it here safe, in my opinion. And so apart from, it all depends on your unique situation as to how much weight you're probably holding on to or looking to get access to, and what avenues are you utilizing to store that metal. So I've had a lot of guests on before who share various ways in securing their metal. So you have the crowd that says within arm's reach, meaning in your near vicinity. Then you have those that have it in bullion vaults, in your country or in a bordering country. And then you also have those that have it in vaults on the other side of the world. Then you have those that utilize the Visa card / MasterCard opportunities of storing it with a custodian, but yet having access to spend it off your card. And then what else is out there? That's pretty much it. So as of now, those three options. Own your possession right away. So you'll probably take a little bit with you, depending on how you get to Mexico. If you drive, you probably can have a couple ounces with you, give or take. But yet, once again, if you're a person that's sitting on a lot, your best bet will probably to be use all three of those options, in my opinion. Have some in a vicinity where you can get hold of it. Have some stored on your behalf in a situation or a country where, if you're international, as it looks like you might be, you might have access to be able to get there. Borders open up or whatnot. These are all just rough scenarios because we don't know how this will play out. And then the third one would be to have some stored at a custodian that gives you access to spend some on a credit card. So that would be my idea. How much, when, where, all the stuff like that will be up to you. But those are just some ways that people I know take advantage of utilizing all those services. So we had a call. Give me a call back, get you on here. And so to keep that moving. So hopefully that was of help to you. But as far as security, the risk falls on you when you take your monetary matters into your own hands. So everybody's situation is different. So hopefully that gives you something to think about. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama. How you doing?
Doing good, Pat from Alabama. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just great. I got an answer for your first caller.
Go ahead.
I recommend an M1 Abrams.
M1 Abrams.
I recommend that you take all of his metal, put it in M1 Abrams if you're going to Mexico.
Mm-hmm. M1 Abrams. So what is it? M1 Abrams?
A tank.
Okay, that caught me off guard. So good luck with getting a tank across the border. Oh man, good luck with that one.
I recommend it. It's a safe, yes, M1 Abrams tank.
Fair enough.
But I said I recommend a safe, an M1 Abrams tank. But I really called to say some things here. First thing, still running around trying to think of, are we in a gold economy yet?
A gold economy.
And they just hadn't told us.
I would imagine.
Yeah, have we gone to the gold standard and they hadn't told us?
The standard.
Because the number one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the number one currency in the Bank of International Settlements is gold. It's not the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, as far as the allocation of their funds, I'm not familiar with offhand, but yet, gold is definitely in everybody's reserves these days, more now than probably ever before, to my knowledge. So it's definitely has always remained a standard. And so we'll see if they put it back out into operation as far as demanding it in everyday trade or whatnot, but that's soon to be determined.
Well, you see, the Bank of International Settlements settles all bills. So, where else are you going to go with your gold? It's acceptable worldwide and the number one currency. So I'm just wondering, have we finally accepted the fact, and now they're just trying to get around and nibble around and tell us that we're in the middle of a reset or something?
Yeah, I would have already assumed that we're in the midst of a restructuring. So that's the word: reset, restructuring. A reset to me would make it seem like it's literally something happened overnight or within a shorter time frame. I would say restructuring, where this might be a drawn out, couple year process, to where it's going to be. They're going to try to do it very smoothly, and so I think the restructuring process is well underway. Yes. What do you think about the difference between reset and restructuring? Are they the same or different or what?
I think it happened on the 19th of April, 2019.
Okay.
Is when we did the changeover. We hadn't been told yet.
And that was the Basel agreement, is what you're referring to?
No, that was when the Bank of International Settlements said gold is the premier.
Yeah. Okay. So I would agree with that.
So it's like I'm kind of puzzled there about the money giveaway. I think that's grand. I'm taking mine and getting weight, but it seems like the only reasonable thing when $1,200 falls in your lap and you're going, I wonder where I'm going to put this. But buy some silver, you idiot. But anyway,
yeah,
moving right along. I just think that you should, when you get this money, like I said, buy some weight and show them something. Eliminate some currency out of the system by buying weight.
Yeah.
But most of these folks are, like you said, woohoo, good time. And I'm waiting for the casinos to open up. I got my little allowance saved up, and I'm just ready to go invest into an honest game. And the stock market ain't it.
Yeah.
And the metals ain't it yet. Isn't it wild that you've got spot prices $10 higher than, you got selling prices $10 higher than spot.
Yeah.
It's like the market is leading the spot.
Yeah, it definitely tells us the importance and the scramble right now to get your hands on it, to where they have to raise the price up on you because they are running short on it, and it's starting to get a lot of attention out here. So a lot of people who knew nothing about the importance of metals all of a sudden want to get their weight up, which is a good thing. So, but hey, Pat, got a couple more calls, my friend. Let me get these calls. I appreciate you calling as always.
All right. You take care. You are a blessing, my friend. You have fun. Bye.
Appreciate you. Good stuff. Always good to hear from Pat. As always, feel free to give me a call. Let's talk a little bit. Curious to get your thoughts on what we talked about earlier as far as the 18 million. So let me put it back on the screen so people can see, for those that might just be coming in late, share my thoughts on how with this 18 million people that decided to skip out on April, will they be skipping out on May as well? Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hi there. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh my goodness. Hi, Mike. This is...
Hi there.
Oh, I'm so excited. Hi, Mike. I've been listening to you for years. This is Avocado Joy from Tampa, Florida.
Avocado Joy from Tampa, Florida. How are you doing this evening? What's on your mind? What are your thoughts about all this?
Well, I would like to give you, I remember, I think it was last week, you were asking, you wanted to know just where everything was, how everything was looking, depending on where everybody was living. And I would say out here in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from another location further south, Broward, and I'm hearing from a lot of friends down there that every store is asking them to wear a mask, where over here in Tampa, it's not like that at all. And it's only a 3-hour difference. So I'm like, wow, there's a major, disconnect of, what's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
It's quite a thing.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Go ahead.
Yes. But I just want to, I'm so grateful for your show because it's been years, like I said, I've been listening and I got my weight up, because of you. And I've shared your video with many of my friends and they've thanked me because they see that you're giving valuable information. But I keep it up, Mike. You're amazing. You're great. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support, and definitely thank you for being a member of the community. So keep getting your weight up and keep us informed on what's happening in your neck of the woods. Appreciate it.
Of course. I'll call back again. I'll be less nervous. I didn't know you were going to pick up the phone.
Well, it's good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate the call as always. Always good to hear from those that are out there and that have been taking advantage of the information over the years of get your weight up. And so that's just the least, that's just what's my word to say with that one? It's just the least you can do to preserve and protect yourself in a practical sense financially. So keep it at that. I see something about a passport out here. It says you can't renew a passport right now except for emergency. Yeah, man, getting a passport. That's because right now I'm waiting on some countries to open up to see what that process will be like to go abroad. And so I think by the end of June, we should have an idea as to where you can go if you can. And that's another question based upon all this stuff is happening right now. How many people out there in the audience are actually looking to go abroad again and to take a little trip or something like that? Let me know in the chat. I'm curious to find out, are people excited to get a little discount on flying, or are you looking forward to having your temperature checked and all the excess of stuff we're going to go through? Let me see. Spirit King says, thing I see about all the preppers and metal enthusiasts is that they hoard but have absolutely no plan to help create a better system afterwards. They'll just wait it out. So that's one of the things where it will be good. And so it will be good to be able to formulate a plan of exit, how to exit out, because metals are, once again, they're only just a way to transfer and to better position yourself, we hope, financially as all this stuff unwinds and get through it. But our issues go a lot deeper, or especially here in the U.S., they go a lot deeper than just the financial side of things. We have a complete political storm happening right now in this country due to this current election coming up. So we're going to find out a lot about our state of our country and our monetary system, and on top of all the other things that's being planned and positioned for us right now, on top of the health situation that they're continuing to force down our throat. So yeah, we got a lot of problems, Spirit, of which that's why I think the alternative media community, as long as there's people out there that's willing to share their voice, and of course a lot of people here have their different sources of information, everybody will be able to put together some thoughts on how they're going to navigate these waters. But right now, 300 million people are extremely divided right now. It'd be good if we could all link up and become more united to voice our displeasure and how this country has been ran and how our monetary system has been hijacked and we want it back. But yet I don't see that happening. So the better system will be whatever we are able to hopefully fight for it down the line as this thing unwinds, but it's a lot of question marks behind that as well. So Marcelino says, how should a gold standard work when you print money like crazy and wage wars? Yeah, so I don't see us going back to a gold standard because if the politicians and the central banking forces stay in power, then they're not going back. They're only going to go forward. Going forward is solely digital. And with that being the way that I believe they want to take us anyway, I don't think there will be a gold standard. There might be some type of basket or something with gold included in it for governments to trust one another again. But for the people, it's going to be solely digital. And we'll see if we have access to solely centralized currencies, because I'd imagine they're being very tolerant of the transition process by allowing decentralized and the cryptocurrency and blockchain, all that stuff to unwind very loosely. But I'd imagine when all this stuff in the next couple of years, they're going to narrow down what they will and will not allow the citizens to use as mediums of exchange, as well as stores of value. So we got, I think, a rude awakening coming for us. So, and that's another thing I've been thinking about doing a confessions of a crypto skeptic lately, because I'm hearing more and more about people who are in the crypto community very unhappy with the current position of the communities that all support their own, their coins or whatnot, and projects in particular. A lot of people are in it for profit, as opposed to it being that medium that was supposed to disrupt the establishment. Like, people have bought into and complied with the KYC and all those things like that, which only forces us to comply with their rules in this so-called new adoption towards decentralized, which once again is not really decentralized if you have to go through their mechanisms to transact with it. So question a lot of things when it comes to that now. And so people prefer profit over privacy. And that's a big issue, because if everything is tracked and traced, how free are you really? So, but yeah, we're going to get into that as the days go ahead. So let me rant. I'm starting to rant too much. Feel free to give me a call. Let's talk. What's on your mind? Or, at Rethinking a Dollar in the chat, so I'll see it and we can touch on it. Nathaniel says, Mike, did you see Iran is attempting to trade with Venezuela? There are 2 sanctioned countries. America's not with it. Nathaniel, yeah, I did see that. It looks like I think Venezuela is trying to have Iran refine or something like that, the oil. So there's some oil ships or something going back and forth from what I heard. And, of course, the U.S. is not tolerating that. So they're sending some cruise ships or whatnot in that vicinity, causing problems. And also, Venezuela's in the news recently for wanting to get back some of their gold from England, or get back their gold, period, from England. And so it looks like they're trying to press the UK in international courts. And so there's an article that I came across earlier that talked about it a little bit. And so here we go. I'll put this on the screen. So here's an article here that shares a little information on that, about what Venezuela, given that they're strapped for cash. It says Venezuela sues the Bank of England for access to $1 billion in gold reserves. So once again, it will not fly. The Bank of England is not going to move, because that is the epicenter of the whole banking cabal. And so it's going to be a lost cause. They're not going to get any of that gold back. The gold is probably not even there, to be honest with you. So I'm sure they know that. But what else is going on here? It says, pay me money back. So I sent you a text. Okay, you sent a text. Let me see here. It says, Mike, this pay me money bags. Okay. Ali in my area, my cash me will be cashes when they reopen this Friday. Okay, so I'm assuming I can read this text. It says, hello, Mike, this pay me money bags. Heads up, spare time, bowling alley in my area will be cashes when they reopen on Friday. So, yeah, so I would imagine a lot of people out there might be witnessing, smaller businesses especially. I think initially, as a part of the reopening process, there's going to be a lot of regulation, a lot of clamping down on small businesses, because I believe the ultimate goal is to put so much pressure on the reopening process with smaller businesses, they're going to force them to close by telling them you can't accept cash and stuff like that. So expect more regulations in the reopening process. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi, Texas. How's it going over there?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing? Are you whispering low blood pressure?
No, my kids are sleeping. I had to leave the room, you know?
Yeah, I understand. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. Hey, check it out, man. Check it out. This is what I'm thinking. Something has to come soon. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to either be a hyperinflation, another virus, mm-hmm. or it has to be a war, because people are starting to catch on, Mike. Mm-hmm. Everybody I talk to is like fake, you know, all this healthcare stuff.
Yeah.
So it has to come soon. It has to, because I was listening to a gentleman, I forgot who I was listening to, but they were saying that they had to purposely slow the economy because the hyperinflation was already starting to happen. Mm-hmm. So what they did with this health scare, it slowed the economy down to slow the movement of money. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true, but people are catching on, Mike. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Something's bound to happen here soon.
Yeah, I would agree. And so I think my guess would be that the Republican-based states are opening up, and primarily from what I've gathered, a lot of the southern states, they're opening up, and I'm hearing the numbers are being fudged, and they're just trying to paint a dark picture there. But people aren't buying it, and so they might end up, being able to get through the summertime, but definitely come fall, before the end of this year is out, I would imagine, especially in the northern region, whenever the flu season hits, like it always does, and the weather changes and coughs and sniffles, everything's going to be labeled as you know what, and therefore the mainstream media will jump on and say, flare up, in Michigan cases triple, and New York is back up, what I'm saying? So I would imagine, just in northern states, when winter hits, it's going to be a right environment to shut things down naturally. So I just think come this fall and winter, we're going to hear some dire news from the mainstream media about what's going on. So I think I give it to fall, my personal opinion.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, Trump's they're sitting there putting it out there. We're going to have troops on the street to distribute food. We're going to have troops on the street to get vaccines. They need those troops on the street because, when all hell breaks loose, they're going to have to control it somehow. That's what I think these troops are coming out on the street to do. Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And so what better way to have them positioned other than that they're here to help until they're not. So my biggest thing is what I'm witnessing from law enforcement. There's more sheriffs and police officers that are not complying to certain mandates because they themselves say it's unconstitutional. Now, will the armed forces, military, and whoever else, National Guard, be in that same position where they realize that they're a part of us anyway? They just happen to be instructed to do some things that they may not want to do, but will they also decide not to participate? And therefore, I remember people saying that the UN, they have some people over here as well, and the UN is hiring and looking to bring in some foreign troops to help, just in case the Americans back out of what they were been ordered to do. There will be some foreign people on the ground. So, not sure how that'll play out, but definitely anything is possible at this point.
Yeah. Let me just tell you, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. Let me just tell you one more thing, how crazy and stupid this scare thing is going on, the one we can't name. Mm-hmm. Like, in my county, there's about 400,000 people that live in this county. Mm-hmm. Not just including my city, but the surrounding areas. There's only been 4 cases of this thing that have caused death. Mm-hmm. And one of those persons lives in Las Vegas and stays in Las Vegas and died in Las Vegas. So I don't know why the heck they even counted that person here in our county. Right. Maybe he used to live here. I don't know. He or she, I don't know too much about it. But it's something like that they were saying. But 4 out of 400,000, that's not a pandemic, Mike. What's going on?
Right. And so you look at the total death count out of the entire 300 plus million people in this country, it wouldn't justify the emergency measures that they've placed on this country. But once again, we all knew that they needed a cause to push their agenda. So here we are in the midst of it. amongst all the skipping of payments and defaults that's coming. And yeah, so there's going to always be an excuse for them to continue to further their agenda because of the response that was unprecedented on top of the monetary issues we have. And so, but hey, low blood pressure, I appreciate you for calling in, my friend. Let me get to a couple more calls before the night's over. But as always, good to hear your voice.
All right, Mike. All right.
Be good.
All right, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Have a good night, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Saw some things in the chat. Let me get back to those questions if I can. Let me scroll. S400 says Americans started a trade war with China, sanctioned Yahweh, and turned around and what to develop and work with Yahweh. China's 5G is better and it's supposed to make 12.5 trillion. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. I witnessed all that back and forth and name calling and stuff like that. But then our president comes out and say, "Yeah, I have a very good relationship with President Xi. You know, we're good friends." I'm like, okay, make your mind up, my friend. What else there? I mean, King D. What else is? It was online article for Google, Forbes, Visa, crypto. It will pop up. Forbes, Visa, crypto. Let me see what that's talking about. I'll look at that one. Forbes, crypto, Visa. Let me see what pops up there. So we have Visa applies for digital dollar blockchain patent. Is that on Forbes? Let me see if this article pops up here. Let me see. I don't think it shows. It doesn't show any pictures here, does it? I don't think so. Yeah, the article, the picture doesn't show anything here. Do me a favor, find that article you're referring to and put it in the chat if you can. I'll try to click on it. It says, what happens to the petrodollar, the purchasing power of the dollar when oil goes to zero in price? S400, what happens to the petrodollar? Let me see. I'm not sure exactly what will happen with the petrodollar system. The domestic dollar that we have in our pockets will still be able to purchase things, but I'd imagine the petrodollar, i.e. all the reserves that's in central banks' possession as an asset, will definitely have some hiccups with them. And so I'd imagine it'll be a while before we have any, dominoes falling directly to where we're going to experience issues with spinning this piece of paper right here. So might be a while before we get to that point. Because as Jerome Powell mentioned, everything is digital in nature. Bernard, I appreciate the love offering to the channel, my friend. Says, thanks for sharing your time. My pleasure, my friend. I enjoy being able to connect with the community, and it's how I stay plugged in and how I also learn from those that are out there that stay with their ears to the ground and eyes attentive to what's going on. So I think that's one of the benefits of having a very nice sized community. So I appreciate you guys for taking time to join in, share your thoughts. What else we got here? It says maybe Jesse Ventura is the answer. Yeah, he disappeared out of the political scene quick. Still does commentator where it says Governor Jay Inslee had to walk back his order that every restaurant takes the name and contact intel on dinner guests. We need to rebel against this tyranny. Yeah, so that's another thing. So that's where I'm like, man, I want to get to Nathaniel Singleton, RTD University. Yes, sir. That's definitely where I put all my interviews. So definitely, if you're new to the channel, rethinkingthedollar.com/university, you can get a chance to see all my past guests and learn from a lot of smarter people than myself. Like that. Oil is abiotic, self-renewing resource. How's that for liquidity? Yeah, oil. And so the gentleman I had on earlier, Mickey Philp, shared his thoughts on the oil situation. He was saying that he, as of right now, he doesn't see there being a oversupply like it was this past April. So he was saying that he doesn't anticipate oil dropping that low in the foreseeable future. So hopefully that's the case. But if it is, it is. But, you know, people enjoy that cheaper gas cost for a while. It was still low. American Seville says, Mike is a very humble man. I appreciate that, my friend. Do not comply. That says, it's in the article. Just double check your scroll down to patent schematics. Okay. Let me see that one. Okay, I see the patents. Okay, I'll put this on the screen. And so this here, and so I'm assuming you're referring to these schematics here. Let me exit out of this, and I'll zoom in there. So you're saying that there's some Freemason type stuff up in there. If I can zoom in, it won't let me zoom in any closer. So let me see what I see. What am I looking for? So let me see who's that. King D, let me know exactly where you're. Okay. I see it. So it's right here. Okay, so that's out there in front. Yeah. So what King D is referring to here. So in these schematics here, for it looks like how it says a diagram that is part of the patent by Visa published today that creates a digital currency using blockchain technology. And right here in the upper right hand side is the Mason sign as a part of 106. And so it says transaction processing network. So the Mason sign is plain as day right here on in the inner workings of how this architect has been put together. So like, so the question is like, okay, well, damn, is that like blatantly like right in your face, or is this like a joke to where they put this out there as like a little mock-up to the patent? Because I don't see any, I'm not sure if I see technology that's real disruptive out there, but once again, it's a copycat. So in this article here, for those that are interested, I'll put this in the chat, but it says Visa applies for digital dollar blockchain payment. And in the diagram, as Mr. King D mentioned, there's a big Freemason sign right here that's in the dab slap middle. So that's interesting. So once again, if you read into that, which I tend to do a lot, what that tells me is that this whole push and adoption is right in alignment with what they would like, with what they already had in mind. They just needed people to buy into it. And as I started off talking earlier about how the crypto community itself has changed significantly over the last several years of me being aware of a lot of projects, more people are concerned with the profiting of these currencies going up and down and trading them and getting in and getting out than they are what they were, I guess, supposed to be in the beginning, a disruptive technology that would derail the banking sector. But with all stuff like this, it just shows me it's playing right into the hands of the orchestrators of all this, which made me a skeptic all along. So, but yet that's what it is, man. That's what it is. And so we're going to go with that. Isn't Visa a part of the Libra project? So Visa, Nathaniel, Visa, I was actually reading an article earlier. Visa took a little backseat. They actually opted out in the meantime, but one of the people said that they're still keeping an eye on it. And so, but Visa, believe me, they're not going to miss out on a chance to profit and to further their push into everybody's pocket, with the credit card usage. So they're not going far away. So they'll be back for sure. It says, what happens if America moves to autonomous manufacturing while the jobs that were lost during the pandemic? How will the working class compete for jobs when their jobs are outsourced to AI? S400. That is something that is inevitable. And so I think I did a video a while back saying that there's a lot of people that are excited about the disruptive nature of autonomous AI, quantum computing. It's just a natural evolution we're heading towards, to where it's going to be disruptive. That's why I think they want to throw out that universal basic allowance within the next year, so that it'll make the transition a little bit smoother, because it'll be hard to keep people out of the system financially unless they're being provided for via some type of stimulus continuously or allowance, because people will hit the streets panicking, pissed off if they are not able to work to earn for themselves, but they'll be less likely to fight if it's being handed to them and it still spins in the short term. So people aren't really thinking about the long-term consequences of what the central bank and the government's doing. They're working together right now. So let me actually, I'm going to end this with sharing an article with you that I came across earlier that was shared by Real Advice Investing. And I read through the whole article, wanted to do a little video about it, but didn't get a chance to do it. But let me see here. It gives you a good idea as to how the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are working hand in hand to further prop up the economy. And so based upon the information shared in this article, it makes it very clear how basically at the end of this, Trump has a lot more say over the Federal Reserve actions than we might be aware of. So let me find this article here, and then I'll end with this one if I can find it. Shoot. Probably won't be able to find it. Anyway, so I won't be able to find it, but what it basically said was by the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin and Jerome Powell are working hand in hand now, and they're using the taxpayer mechanisms to fund and to prop up all the actions done by the Federal Reserve. So by the Treasury giving permission to the Federal Reserve and providing collateral to the Federal Reserve to open up all these lending windows, the Treasury is now on the hook for all those loans primarily, to where through the special purpose vehicles, which in and of themselves is the best way for Treasury and the Fed to go about monetizing every damn thing without having to go before Congress and admit that they have committed flat out treason by giving the Federal Reserve by giving the Federal Reserve access to being able to just monetize without limit. So with that being the case, the special purpose vehicles is the mechanism. That's one of the tools that we're witnessing as a way of providing funds for all the crap that's going on now. So that is the case here. And so let me see here. Got a super chat here. I appreciate that offering there. So I want a mask. It says grab your KN95 face mask and hand sanitizer at the I Want a Mask website. Use RTD for 30% off. I Want a Mask. I appreciate that generous offering for the channel, and definitely a way of promoting your business. So I thank you for that love offering, my friend. So if anybody's interested, feel free to go over to I Want a Mask website and use the QR code RTD. Of course, the information provided here. So thank you for the love offering to the channel, my friend. And so that is all she wrote for this evening. It has been great being able to connect with everybody. And as always, approaching the hour point. And so all this was about bringing to the forefront the fact that millions of people have chosen to skip a payment, which will more than likely prove to cause more harm than good, because if you chose to skip willingly to take advantage of the circumstances, as of right now, the payment's going to roll around next month. Now, as this thing unwinds and people realize they can't get back to work the way that they want to, I think people will probably have wished that they would have made those payments when they could have, if they care at all, or they might sit around and wait for it to be forgiven or rolled under or whatever. So, but other than that, once again, it's just one of the things where it's only going to compound. It's going to get worse. So hopefully people are attentive to their financial matters right now. And so it'd have been great not to be in all this debt in the first place, but a lot of people don't have that choice at this point. So make wise decisions, stay prayed up, and let's keep walking and talking ourselves through this as it unfolds. So we will go from there. But other than that, that is all she wrote for tonight. I appreciate the love offerings to those who donated. And as always, if you want any additional information, if you're new to the channel, definitely put us on the screen so you guys can see what I'm referring to here. Go to, let me pull his website up here so I can show you guys that are new. I try to post articles throughout the day over at the RTD website. And let me see here. I'll put this on the screen here so people can see. So here, go to rethinkingdollar.com and then go up to the top. We have the chat room and some videos. Of course, you can buy the RTD round if you're interested. And if you want to be a blessing to the channel and be a part of the RTD Wall of Fame, you'll be able to get your picture up there if you support the channel via Patreon. So want to definitely acknowledge those that are contributors to the community. It definitely goes appreciated to the channel. So thanks again for those tuning in. And other than that, that is all she wrote for this evening. Be blessed, be safe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.